Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show, trying to make sense of this crazy Arizona market. And it's not really getting crazy. It's just slower than slow. I remind people that those that said, marry the house, date the rate, many people right now are seeing a marriage counselor. The rates did not drop. And as many expected, it only took one comment to say that there was probably going to be consideration for up to 4 to 6 rate cuts, and that consideration has not come to fruition. So now there's just, are we even going to see a rate cut this month? Nope. Maybe September. Hard to tell. Unemployment numbers come out on Friday. That'll be a big deciding factor, but there's more and more chatter that the central bank's going to hold on to where we're at for a considerable length of time. Considerable for us, like, is 60 to 90 days. For them, it's maybe 6 months, 9 months. So, that being said, the market is not going to be as brisk this summer as some anticipated. We're seeing it. I'm going to share the numbers with you and show you where we're at. And I want to come from a perspective that this isn't a bad thing. We're not crashing. We're not exploding. I'm not complaining. I don't think this is too bad. So I want to look at it and I'll tell you why. And so we start out with our active listings. Now, take this with a grain of salt because this was a weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So new listings kind of tamped down just a little bit. Although I have been saying I expect us to see a little bit flat going into the summer and not inventory not climbing up. And that's what I'm seeing, but it may just be the stroke of luck because what I see here on my 7-day moving average is that new listings have come up, sales have come up, but that's coming out of a holiday weekend. If I go all the way to the end over here, you can see that that's exactly what happened last year on Memorial Day. It goes down, everybody has their barbecue, they come back, and it pops back up again, gets back up to where it was. So we'll see what happens. So what's going on with our pricing? Let's take a look at a national snapshot here right now and show you that the ICE Home Price Index. Now, this only goes to, I think, April. They don't have the May numbers yet, but you can see that price index has gone, came way down, and now it's starting to dip down again. So what's happening to us? Well, this is us. Our annual appreciation based on price per square foot actually went up a little bit in April. I don't think I'm going to see that in May. And I think you'll agree with me when you see some of the numbers, first one being this one, and that is that list prices are coming down. So you're facing a situation now where sales are not brisk. They haven't been brisk for quite some time. We're coming into our slow season. I had been saying that all indications were that if you were thinking of selling, especially in certain neighborhoods, that the month of May was looking pretty good, especially the first part of May. You didn't have very much competition, and the buyer traffic was still relatively healthy, running at about 75 to 80% of contracts per new listings. Now we're down to about 74%. That's not bad. You got to get down to 60s before you see actual sales prices coming down. But we are seeing what I'm calling listing reality. And what I mean by that is, some of the list pricing was a little bit optimistic up here. And now as we get into the summer, they're starting to pull it back more realistically, which if you're a seller, it's very important when you start seeing numbers start to soften up like this to have a really good conversation with your agent. And don't just shop the agents that gives you the best price. Agents don't set prices. They don't tell buyers, hey, pay this. The buyers set your price once it's on the market. So the conversation has to be, what are we seeing? What's the market look like? What's the months of supply? How many pending listings are we seeing? Are they going up? Are they going down? What's going on in my neighborhood? What did my neighbor get? And that was 2 months ago that they got that price. Okay, what's changed between today and 2 months ago? Anything? And so you want to get that price range and you want to look and say, okay, well, let's start here. Now, if you start too high, the time is not on your side. You can't just price high and wait for people to catch up to you. You need to price realistically and you need to be flexible. And this is the market where you really need to embrace that, because you're seeing here, here's pending listings. They're kind of flat. I mean, they went up and they do that seasonally. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that rodeo before, right? So, and then they kind of flatten out here. And seasonally, as we get into summer, pending listings do tend to drop a little bit. So that's one of those considerations when you're looking at pricing your house and you're looking at moving it, especially if you want to move it quickly. What type of stance do you want to take? So this is telling you that the era of pricing aggressively is in the rearview mirror. Now for buyers, there's still an affordability problem out there. And the affordability problem is really raising its head in our lack of sales, year-to-date volume. This is year-to-date volume 2024 compared to last year. And you can see how high we were back in the silly season of 2021. And right down here, we're back to levels we haven't seen since the Great Recession. It's pretty slow out there. A lot of realtors are leaving the industry. Now, it's not bad for everybody. Jessica and I are actually having a pretty good spring. As many of you know, I switched over to Agave Homes and Investments, and we're staying pretty stinking busy. And a lot of agents are, especially the ones that are experienced, been doing it for a while. The new ones that got in last year and said, oh, everybody's making money, let me get in, found out it wasn't quite that easy. And nationally, agents are just leaving, getting some work. We won't see the real numbers until January when you have to renew your dues for the board and for the National Association of Realtors. Costs about $550. Most agents, if they're thinking about getting out, say, well, I'm just not going to renew this year. And then we'll see the impact of how many agents have indeed left. But there's a lot of pressure out there, especially with title companies and lenders. So it's soft. We've been in a real estate recession all this year, but it hasn't showed up in prices because of that gap between listings and sales has not grown exponentially. Will it grow? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like that will grow this summer. I think if it does, it's going to be bucking up against past history and past trends. So, we'll watch it closely here. This is the other thing I look at too, is number of price changes per week. They're not going up. They're actually going down a little bit. That is a good sign if you're listing. That is something you need to keep in mind as a buyer, as you hear what your neighbors tell you and your friends. It's not as easy to go out and lowball somebody as you think it is. We hear bad news and we think, oh, they're asking $500,000. I'm going to offer them $425,000. Well, it'll be dead on arrival. So it's not really an aggressive time for buyers. We are in what's considered right now total in our market, a balanced market when we look at the Cromford Market Index. And I'll show you a little breakdown here, which is showing you that the Cromford Supply Index is showing us going up. Our demand is kind of flat to going down. So it gives us a total market that's starting to see a decline, and balanced is anything right here in this 100 range. And that's where we are. So balanced does not mean you can lowball. It also means sellers can't price aggressively. It means welcome to the world of balanced real estate, where you list your home and it may take a little while to sell it. And when you're out looking for a home to buy, you may have time to actually think about it. Now, it's not the same way everywhere in the valley here. And if we look at this heat map, the green area here is showing between 30 and 60, which is balanced to warm. It's based on the contract ratio. So you can see that Scottsdale, Phoenix is considered just contract ratio of 0. That's kind of odd. But you can see the hot areas continue to be Chandler, Gilbert, and right here, part of Mesa 85202, Santan Valley is showing that it's brisk. Most of that is new builds, not so much resale. And areas of Apache Junction right now where they're just starting to build is pretty much balanced, even up in Carefree and Fountain Hills. So it's not really aggressive out there when it comes to number of contracts, again, except for Chandler and Gilbert. But even Chandler with the CMI is starting to slide down just a little bit. And we're starting to see that I'm going to try to see if I can pull it up here, that the softening has begun. And I can show you that right here. You can see that Chandler went down 5% versus the month before. They had a CMI of 219. Now they're 209. And Fountain Hills was kind of climbing a little bit. They're 186. We'll see what happens next week. They went up 19%. But there's not as much volume out there in Fountain Hills, so it can swing like this quite a bit. Even Gilbert went down 13% for crying out loud at 156. So even though I showed you on the heat map that it showed it's hot, it's not trending that way. So they could end up balanced here pretty quick. Maricopa and Buckeye, you guys are holding up the bottom down there at 66 and 65. That's a buyer's market. So you get down to Maricopa and you're looking at a resale home and you're thinking of writing an offer, you can get aggressive and you can ask for seller concessions. You may run into a lot of sellers that are just not going to accept that, but it's worth a shot in those two areas. Why? Well, you're competing against new builds down there, and they're offering all kinds of incentives and rate buy downs and the like. And so it's harder for the resale home. However, if you're looking for a pool, I recommend a resale home because the cost to build a pool, if you buy new construction, which they don't include them, is astronomical. Yet you can get a resale home that's already got a pool in it. Yeah, you're not going to get huge seller concessions or a rate buy down, but you're not going to have to spend 50 grand trying to put your pool in. So that's something you may want to look at as well. So don't shy away from them. Plus, if it's a balanced market or a buyer's market, it's a better time for you to see what you can do. Now, Maricopa and Buckeye, I mean, if you're working anywhere in the central part of the valley, those are painful commutes. They're brutal, as will be Apache Junction. I don't see people out there buying in Apache Junction in these new developments and, hey, I'm going to drive to Phoenix to work. That's a rough one. That kind of reminds me of Los Angeles, where people bought a lot in Moreno Valley, which is east of LA. And they were facing 2 and 3 hour commutes. I remember I used to go to meetings by the airport, and there were other guys that were in there too that would tell us, you know what, you're going to fly to Phoenix and be home before I'm only halfway home when I'm driving back out to Moreno Valley. And vice president, he would hold the meetings on a Friday for crying out loud. We were begging him. The locals there were begging him, can we move it to a Thursday? Because traffic is so bad on Friday, and he wouldn't budge. Poor guys, it was rough. Hey, if you're looking at, and I'm going to show you my website here again, I want to remind you, you can look at reports or rickhelps.com. It's an easy one to remember, and you can search the MLS just like I do. Excuse me. But I've added the real estate market report, which is put together by Tom Ruff. You can click on that and you can download it. I'm going to update it every month as it comes out. I'm expecting it to come out again this upcoming week because this is data here for April. So it's got everything you can look at in our markets, similar to what I share on the Cromford report. But it's right there on the website. It also gives you the commentary. So you don't have to sign up for anything. You're not going to get put on an email list. You just go to the website. Go to the top of the website where it says download the recent Arizona real estate market report here, and voila, you can absorb all of this real estate information. And because of that knowledge, you can become a hit at all the cocktail parties. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email at rickhelps.com. Hope you have a great beginning of the week. Take care.